Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Checked Out. I am Alexa, and
hello, I'm Jennifer.
And we are back with another random selection for you of things that we have read and listened to and watched and enjoyed.
It's been a little while, so we have a lot. I feel like we have a lot to talk about.
I think so too, yeah. We don't really have a theme this time. I feel like last time we both kind of accidentally read the exact same genre. Yeah. I don't think we did that this time. No. I think we've got a pretty eclectic selection for you.
So we have some graphic novels, we have some fiction, we have some, a couple J books.
Yeah, there's some nonfic in here.
Yeah, some nonfiction, so a little bit of everything. I do think we should probably start off with it's summer, and that we have summer reading has started, and then we hope that you have your green bag.
Yes.
Because everything about summer reading is in that green bag.
Correct. It looks a little bit different this year.
Totally
if you don't know what we're talking about with the green bag, that's okay. That had the craft supplies in it, but you can still participate in summer reading.
Yes.
We
got booklets.
We have booklets. You will need to provide your own craft supplies at this point because we did unfortunately run out of the green bags.
Yes.
But we still have the booklet. You can still participate in summer reading, and you can still get your yard sign to decorate and then bring back to us for our art show in July at each of the branches.
Yep, that'll be awesome. So just wanted to throw that out.
Yes,
it
absolutely.
Is summer. We are talking summer now.
Summer reading looks different, but it is still happening.
Yes.
You should still be reading.
People were confused about the green bag.
Yes.
It's like, oh, is this the summer? And we're like, yes.
That is summer reading.
Yeah, so if you have a green bag at home and you're wondering, that's the summer.
Yes, exactly. So let's just jump into it.
Yeah, what do you want to kick off with?
So I want to start with a very summery book that I read and loved. I read it in like a day because I loved it so much. It was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So she wrote Beach Read, which is
good.
Equally delightful. People We Meet on Vacation is her newest book. It is an homage to When Harry Met Sally. So it is about a woman named Poppy who every summer goes on vacation with her best friend from college named Alex. Oh. And so they met on a carpool back to their hometown when they were in college. So that's fun. The Harry Met Sally. They carpooled to New York. They carpooled back from college to their hometown together. And then they became friends. And so every summer they go on a summer vacation together.
How sweet.
It is written in just during summer. So it's like they've been on these summer vacations for 12 years together. And then 2 years ago, something happened on one.
Ooh.
And they haven't talked since.
Oh, no.
And so Poppy gets it in her mind that she's like, I'm going to talk to him. We're going to go on another summer vacation together. And I'm going to figure this out. And we're going to be friends again. So it's about Poppy trying to get Alex back in her life.
Oh. Okay.
And then it kind of is interspersed with all of their past summer vacations in with this current one that they're doing.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's so good. It's so good. Emily Henry is absolutely one of my new instant buy authors. I loved it so much, and I loved Beach Read that after I finished this one, I bought both because I just wanted to give her my money.
That says a lot.
That's how much I loved it. I was just I love them so much. They're just really fun, really charming. I think that her writing is just great.
Oh, so. Wow. Well, I'm going to go the complete, other spectrum of, I read, I don't know if you read it, Mexican Gothic.
I've heard of it. I keep meaning to read it, but I haven't yet.
It's really good. It's by Sylvia Morano Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it because of course, it's Gothic. It's very edgy. It's stylish. It has, your homage to Harry Met Sally. This is kind of if you read classic Gothic from Dracula, Jane Eyre, Rebecca, there's a little snippets of that kind of feel in the book. And so I highly recommend it. It's, and I read it pretty quickly, not in one day, but it's definitely a good sort of, it was something different for me to read. I hadn't read a Gothic story in a while. And I think after our romantic sort of talk,
you're ready to go the other direction.
I was I was interested in Gothic, but I thought although there is a relationship in it, it's not really necessarily about that. It's about a family and some odd doings, kind of like you would find in Rebecca or Jane Eyre, the haunted house, the house and the weirdness that happens in the house and who knows what, and there's a secret. It has all that in there. So highly recommended.
Great. I feel like that would be
I think it would make a good. I really seriously believe it would make a really cool series, like on Netflix or something.
Like how they did Haunting of Hill House.
Yes,
That's what I was about to say. I was just like, I feel like
Yeah.
that would be like a really good like anthology series.
because
or
it,
something.
it's. I should note that this story takes place in the 50s,
Oh, okay.
so it has that kind of cool mid-century kind of vibe to it, which I love. And so again, that kind of made it almost like, oh, this is perfect for me to read.
I think that almost, I feel like so many gothic and like horror and thriller titles like need to be set in the past at this point just out
I
of sheer
agree.
necessity because cell phones just ruin everything. And the
Oh.
internet.
Oh yeah,
It's just like, well, just like fix it. Fix your problem
yeah. Just
with
look
the
it up.
technology. Yeah.
Yeah, just Google it.
But if you stick someone in the 50s, then they're stuck. They have to just
Yeah.
tough it out.
They got to figure that out. They got to use a rotary. They got to use a phone book.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like that's just a very smart way for authors to
Oh, yeah, definitely.
escape
And I
technology.
think it's cool that it's not, this isn't it's not taking place in some like Scottish moor or anything like that, So it's definitely an interesting, and I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
So,
I'll have to put that. I finally need to move that up.
you should read it.
I
You would
really
like
should.
it.
I was talking to Lynn the other day, and literally, I have like a stack of books to read.
Oh, gosh.
And I reread a Tessa Dare book the other day. I was like,
Yeah, but you have all these.
I know. I haven't even finished the Anthropocene reviewed yet, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna read this Tessa Dare again. Just like I've read it before, and I'm just gonna do it again right now.
Yeah. I find myself doing that sometimes.
I know. Sometimes you just need a comfort read.
Oh, yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, speaking of Anthropocene Reviewed, I do have John Green's newest book. It is a big departure for him since, generally speaking, pretty much exclusively written YA up until now.
That's true.
Fault in Our Stars, Looking for Alaska, all that good stuff. This is based on his podcast of the same name, The Anthropocene Reviewed, in which John Green rates different facets of the human-centered life on a 5-star scale. And I just think that's like the description verbatim as he says it in the episodes. It just makes me laugh every single time.
Oh, my God. That cracks me up.
It's so funny. And something about his delivery of, like, he writes these essays about just ridiculous. Like, he rates the penguins of Madagascar. He rates, like, the Kauai o'o, which is an extinct bird from Hawaii. Like, he rates everything. And at the end, he's like, I give the penguins of Madagascar 4 stars or whatever. And it's just like, he's so serious every single time. It never fails to make me laugh.
Is there a criteria for his rating?
He's just rating stuff on a 5-star scale, and he mentions that a little bit in the book version of his essays, where he had kind of like, he wrote his very first review of Diet Dr. Pepper. He said like decades ago, and he would occasionally write these reviews of things, and he would write them as like an impartial reviewer.
Yeah.
And whenever he sent that one to his wife Sarah, she was just like, well, I think that you're always going to have bias. Like, this is your review of Diet Dr. Pepper, so it should be your rating of it. Like, it's you are the one doing the reviewing, and obviously you would give Diet Dr. Pepper like 5 stars because you love it. So I don't think that you should try and do these reviews as an impartial observer. So they're very much John Green's biased reviews of things.
I love it.
And they're just very unexpectedly touching. He reviews the Indianapolis 500, the race because he lives in Indianapolis. He's not from there, he's from Florida. But it's just like, he goes into how he bikes there every year with his friends, and he somehow he makes you feel very emotionally attached to a car race. And I don't know how he does it, but he's
a good writer.
He's just great. He's so earnest. Yeah. And he just like so obviously cares about everything, which I really appreciate. He talks a lot about the COVID-19 pandemic because he was doing the podcast during it. Oh. It just came out last month. So he reviews different viruses and things occasionally. It's just very good. If you enjoy John Green's writing, I think you would enjoy this, podcast. Even though it is not. Yeah, you would love the podcast. He's an excellent reader. Like, I think that he does a great job reading his own essays aloud. For sure, the one that he does on Tetris, I think, is really, really good.
Okay, check this out.
I would highly recommend the podcast and the book. I think the podcast I would recommend actually a little bit more than the book, just because I think it's very fun to listen to him read them. But he does actually have an audiobook of the book as well.
Oh, so maybe I'll do that.
I was like, you can just get the audiobook version of this if you don't want to listen to the podcast in episode form. Many different ways to ingest this content.
I find myself listening to their podcast, which is really terrible at times, because I'm like, I'm like missing part of my brain that should be reading stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I will say it's.
and I have Audible and I have like 5 credits I haven't used, and I'm like, I better do that.
You can get Anthropocene reviewed.
So maybe I'll do that.
Yeah, the essays have been slightly edited from their forms in the original podcast, so you could listen and compare to see how they change. There are a few brand new ones for this, and he does actually have some Easter egg reviews throughout the book.
Oh, cute.
So he reviews autographs at the beginning because every single copy of this book is autographed. You cannot purchase a copy of this book that is not autographed. So heads up if you don't want an autographed book. Too bad you're getting one. He reviews the font that is used in the book. That's on the copyright page. So would recommend getting the book. It's very fun.
For fun.
Yeah, it's super cute. It's very charming. John Green's great. I give the Anthropocene reviewed 5 stars. It's very good.
I love it. So since you did sort of a nonfiction, I'll do my nonfiction, which is Anthony Bourdain, chef, TV host, extraordinaire, travel, just a cool human being that passed away in 2018. Actually, yesterday would have been the anniversary of his death, June 8th. So before his death, he was working on a book with a woman named Laurie Wooldiver, who is also someone who works on a show. And she's probably been she probably worked for him for like 10 years. Mm. But anyway, the book came out. I pre-ordered it and actually forgot that I had ordered it because I ordered it probably not long after his death. And just,
oh, wow. It's been available for pre-order for that long. Wow.
Well, it was not finished.
Oh, okay.
It was not done. He was working on it and she finished it.
Okay.
But I believe she had his notes and all that kind of stuff. And some of this, I think he had already written. I think as he would go places, he would sort of keep a notebook and was writing things down. And I believe this is the compilation of all those things.
Okay.
It's called World Travel. And I love it. It's a beautiful book. It has it's a travel guide. Mm. It's where to go. There's like a whole article on each, like Japan, Cuba, wherever. But it's in his wit. It's in his sort of snarky sort of way. And it also is for a person who is not going to just stick to the main places. He's going to take you to places that you probably would not see on a travel guide, like where they say, oh, go to this market. He'd take you to the real market in whatever place that you're talking about. I really enjoy it. I have to say that I was a huge fan of Anthony Bourdain and was very, very sad when he passed away, and still think of him often, and really excited to watch the autobiography or the documentary they're doing about him that's coming out soon called Roadrunner, and so I'm excited about that. So
he's just a wonderful writer. He really
He's a really good writer.
He was so talented at just so many different things.
He really was.
For a while there, when his daughter was young, he would write reviews of children's programs. I don't know if you've ever read them.
Yes.
They're so funny. And he actually, the only one that he ever liked was Yo Gabba Gabba.
Yes.
And he guest starred on it.
I remember that.
Have you seen him on Yo
Yes,
Gabba Gabba? He's
yes.
so charming. Just delightful.
There was something so, I don't know, he just had this intelligence and this wanting to know and wanting to understand and wanting to be honest. I feel like he tried to be really honest with people when he taught.
He's one of those people who, like, you could tell that no matter where in the world he was at, where he went, like, he could always find, like, common ground with the people that he was with. He was so good at that.
Which I think made him a really great person to discuss travel or going places. And I don't want to say travel because it sounds like, oh, you like just book a trip. I think it was more than that. I think he really looked at the historic, the conflicts, the what made a place the place it is, and what's great about it and what's not so great about certain places, and what is happening at that time currently, and what was happening in different places, and looking at it not from like I don't want to say like the American point of view of like, oh, well, we're better. And, like America has this kind of attitude. I think he looked at it way differently than that. I think he looked at it as like, oh, I want to understand and see your point of view, even though we might not agree. And I think that was really great about him. So if you get a chance, the library does have this book. I believe it's on order, and there are people on hold for it right now, but I don't believe the library's got their copy yet. Like I said, I pre-ordered mine and I got mine like last month. So,
And then he's got a pretty extensive back catalog, too.
Yes,
Kitchen
yes.
Confidential is
Which
the
is
classic
great.
Anthony Bourdain is his
Yes.
first book, and it's delightful. So, yeah, there's
Yes.
lots to read.
yes.
And
you know,
enjoy.
he wrote mysteries. I think he even wrote a graphic novel. It was about a Japanese chef or
I think
something
you're right,
like that.
yeah.
The library does own several.
If we don't have it,
And
then
of course,
you
cookbooks.
can always request it.
That's true.
Yeah, if it went missing at any point, just let us know and we can get a new copy.
That's true. We are good at that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good. I really enjoy it.
So I read one short little. I don't remember the exact quote that was pulled and is on the front, but it's like a short, mean little book or something like that. And I was just like, I'm sold from that quote. That's like a really interesting blurb. I've never heard anything called like a mean book.
What's mean about it?
It's kind of hard to describe. It was kind of, though. It's called The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nevo.
Oh.
And like it's a very short book. It's very much a novella. And the structure of it was really, really interesting. It read almost like a fable.
Oh, okay.
So it's a fantasy, and the protagonist is non-binary, which I thought was really cool. I feel like
Oh, yeah.
I don't feel like I read too many anything with non-binary main characters. So the protagonist is. It's been a while since I read it, so I don't remember the exact terminology of it. They basically collect stories. They document things, the history of the world that they are living in.
Okay.
And they have a little parrot, a talking bird that goes around with them, who's like their little sidekick, which I thought was really endearing.
Oh.
And so they meet this woman named Rabbit on their travels who used to be a handmaiden for the Empress. And Rabbit lets them stay with them for a while and starts telling them stories of her time with the Empress so that the protagonist can then catalog those stories and remember them and learn them. And after every story that she tells of this empress that she served, she says, "Do you understand?" And like she's trying to like get at the moral of the story.
Right,
Like
the heart of
here
the thing I'm trying to tell
here
you.
is this story. I'm gonna just tell it to you how it happened. Do you understand? Like, do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? And it was just a really beautiful. It was a beautiful, mean little book. And it was really, really interesting. It is the first in a series. I don't believe that they're completely related, but I think that I haven't read the second one yet, but I'm going to because I enjoyed that one so much. I think that the idea is that you're following this protagonist throughout this world.
That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it was really good, and I really wanted just like something quick, a little
Yes.
bite-sized something to read, and it was
I love
perfect.
that.
It was just a great mean little book. You kind of have to read it to understand why it's mean, I guess.
Yeah,
It was.
I'm like, what's mean about
It was very interesting. Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't read anything like it.
Oh.
It was
I'll have to
it
try.
was great.
I'm interested.
I believe that the author Nevo, I think that she has a novel that was just released this month as well.
Okay.
So she's like actively writing now, and I think that she has her first full length novel that was just released as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah, she was great. I thought the writing was excellent.
I also started, I'm like literally, I mean, when I mean just started, I mean like I just got it yesterday, was the Jenny Lawson's new book. If anyone is a fan of
The Bloggess.
Bloggess, it's called Broken, the Best Possible Way. I have been following her blog probably right after she started it.
What's the name of the giant chicken?
Oh, I can't.
The giant chicken statue. I just remember so vividly
Yes.
reading that. I feel like that was like the blog entry that like really made
Yes,
her.
Oh my gosh, I remember that.
I remember it so clear. I don't remember the name of the giant chicken though, which is like distressing to me
That's
that I can't
terrible.
remember.
I can't either.
Such
but
a famous blog entry.
But yeah, I just
Just Google Bloggess and giant chicken and
yes. I can't believe I don't remember.
I
it.
know.
'Cause I remember that story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy her. Like I said, I followed her blog probably from the beginning, and I've read the books that she has put out, and I enjoyed every minute because she's funny, but she's also very touching at times, and I mean her life is a mess, but also yes. What's its
I
name?
pulled up a picture of the chicken, Beyonce.
Beyonce.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Beyonce. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just
No.
had to look it up.
I don't know why I didn't remember it was called that.
I don't know.
That's pretty funny. Anyway, just like I said, I haven't read it yet.
I'm sure it's very funny.
But I'm sure it's funny.
Yeah.
And I love this illustration.
Oh my God.
It's really, I don't know. She's a hoot. And if you know, I mean, if you've read her other books.
I was going to say, she has two other books that are equally funny.
Yeah. She's very, very funny person. And if you're someone who likes to read blogs, definitely, if you haven't read her blog, you should check out her blog because it's hilarious.
Does she still actively blog? Do you know? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I haven't. It's
Yeah.
been a long time since I went around and read blog entries.
Because she just posted something. She's on a book tour right now.
Oh, nice.
And she's talking about what's going on with the book tour. So that's the last blog I read.
Okay.
But yeah, so she's still doing it. And she's active. She if you Facebook page, she has and she'll post. She posts a lot of stuff on there too. If you're interested in being a friend on Facebook. She does she has. I wanted to do it, but it was kind of at the time it just had too much going on. But she has her own sort of book club, and but you had to pay. You had to pay to get into it. I think. And I believe you had to pay to get it because I think she sent you the books.
Oh, wow.
I think. But I could be wrong on that.
Interesting.
But there was a fee, but I don't remember what the fee was for. And I almost did it, but it's I've got too much going on. I don't have time to join this book club.
I feel usually a book club is just the hammer in the... It's just okay, you're not going to read this book now. If you have to read it for a deadline or something. I'm just oh no.
For one, it's how, I guess they're meeting electronically, Zoom or whatever. I don't know. And I just really wasn't interested in doing that.
That's fair.
But anyway, she has a book club. I think she still does. I don't know. I could be wrong. Have you read anything kid-like?
I have. How convenient that you ask. So my kid reads for this last. I read some teen graphic novels.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yes. So I read.
We love that.
Exclusively graphic novels by Kelly Thompson.
Oh.
She's a wonderful writer.
Yes.
She has got currently a reboot series of Sabrina the Teenage Witch going.
Oh, yeah.
And it's delightful. Her writing of Sabrina is super fun. Harvey's cute in it. It's great. Really good imagining of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. That's literally the name of the first volume of the graphic novel by Kelly Thompson, and it's super fun.
No, I haven't read these. No, I've read the other one. The one that was...
The dark one?
The really dark one.
Okay, yeah. This one is a little dark, but not that dark.
Okay, that's where I want
to know. Yeah, it's definitely there are monsters and stuff like that, and
but it's not dark.
It is definitely not Aguirre dark. It's not like Afterlife of Archie dark. That Aguirre is the guy who did Riverdale and Afterlife with Archie and the dark Sabrina that is on Netflix.
Yeah.
This is fun Sabrina.
Oh, wow.
There's still witchcraft and monsters to be fought and stuff, but it's like Buffy. It's it's not that dark. So very very doable. It's not
I read some of the dark Sabrina and some of the dark Riverdale, although I like the kind of more upbeat Riverdale.
Yes. I'm a huge Archie Comics nerd.
I love Archie Comics too.
Love Archie Comics. Love Josie and the Pussycats. Love it all.
That's me too. Jughead.
It's great. Yeah, I have always loved. Afterlife with Archie was too much for me. I couldn't do it. I read the first volume and I was like, nope, this is not for me.
I couldn't get into that.
Yeah.
I like the more lighthearted, any of that.
You would like Kelly Thompson's Sabrina.
So I'm definitely going to try that.
Yeah, it was very fun. And she also, after I read that, I was like, what else has Kelly Thompson written? Because I really enjoyed this. And she has written Gambit and Rogue graphic novels of the X-Men. Wow. Hooray for me, my favorite couple from X-Men, and this author that I really enjoy happens to have written stories about them. So I was like, well, great. And so she has 3 volumes of different Gambit and Rogue stories. Oh. So I checked all of them out and just devoured them. They were each delightful. She has Rogue and Gambit, Ring of Fire, which is the first in the series. And then she began another series after that called Mr. and Mrs. X. And there are 2 volumes of that out. One is Love and Marriage, and the second is called Gambit and Rogue Forever. Oh. So that first one, it's Gambit and Rogue accept a mission where they have to go undercover at a couple's retreat. And they're currently not together, but they have to pretend to be in a relationship at a couple's retreat. It was so fun. Really great. And then after that volume, they end up getting married. And so it's about Gambit and Rogue and their marriage. And in the first one, they go on a honeymoon into space.
Oh, wow.
And then it gets disrupted by Deadpool. It's very fun.
Oh, my gosh. I love it.
Yeah, they're extremely cute. Really, really fun. Yeah, they're all delightful. Kelly Thompson can just exclusively write Sabrina and X-Men, as far as I'm concerned, for the rest of her career, because she does a great job at it.
You're like, keep at it.
She's great. Really good work, Kelly Thompson. I love how you portray Gambit and Rogue and also Sabrina. I don't know why she does those three, but they're great.
That is weird, though.
Yeah, I was like, these are all things that I love. Great news for me.
Maybe she's like you. Or maybe she's more like, reads the same things we do.
I was like, I know I'm not the only person in the world who also just really loves Gambit and Rogue and their whole dynamic. I think that probably a lot of children of the 90s love Gambit and Rogue and their dynamic.
That's probably true.
But yeah, no, she does a great job. They're just delightful. So
cool. Well, I read, I'm currently reading, This Was Our Pact, and it's by Ryan Andrews. Illustrations in the book are absolutely beautiful. It's very blue. I mean, the blues and all the shades of blue that you can have in a story or in an illustration. It's absolutely gorgeous. But it's about a group of friends who have a pact and how the pact gets broken and how there's one kid who isn't part of the group, who the group doesn't really want around, but eventually sort of makes his way into the story and becomes someone where the other people don't really break there's like the pact is really important to the story. And I don't want to say too much about it, but it's a great story. It's about boys. So if you have, boys and you need something to read, it's got a bear in it, So.
And the bear is anthropomorphic.
Yes.
He's wearing a suit. I flipped through the book.
As soon as I saw the bear in the suit, I was like, I must read this book. I don't know, because I love bears.
Yeah, the artwork really is beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say too much about it, because I actually just started, but I'm really enjoying it, and it's good.
All right, and now little kid stuff.
Yeah.
My almost 3-year-old currently, his number one book obsession at the moment is called The Oboe Goes Boom, Boom, Boom by Colleen A.F. Venable, and it's illustrated by Leanne Cho. I wanted specifically shout out Leanne Cho because the illustrations are beautiful. They're very watercolory and just very dynamic and funny. But the premise of The Oboe Goes Boom, Boom, Boom is that the band director is welcoming the child reading the book to the band and trying to figure out what instrument the child wants to play, because there's an instrument for everyone. So he's just going through and telling you all about the history of each instrument. So you learn a lot of fun facts about different instruments and how old they are. And the saxophone was invented in like 1846 by Adolphe Sax, who grew up playing the clarinet and the flute both. And so he was like, let's put them together. I know a lot of facts about instruments. You
have learned a lot from this book.
Beethoven was the first person to use a trombone in one of his orchestral compositions.
I did not know that.
You learn a lot reading children's literature.
That's true.
And so as the band director is going through and describing each of the instruments, he is continually interrupted by Colleen, she's called Felicity in the book. I believe it's one of her middle names, who keeps interrupting them playing a drum very loudly. We'll get to the drums later, Felicity. Please stop. Let me talk.
There comes the boom, boom, boom.
That is the boom, boom, boom that continually interrupts. So it's very fun to read aloud. My kiddo loves saying boom, boom, boom with us whenever we get to those portions. And I also love each child in the orchestra who is demonstrating the instruments is a very famous person who played that particular instrument. So it's like these cute little kiddo caricatures of famous musicians. And then at the end, they have biographies for each of them.
Wow, that's really cool.
It is.
That's a lot to pick up, but in a fun way.
I think that it would be a good picture book for a lot of different ages. Because, like I said, my 3-year-old really likes us to read it to him. But there's tons of facts and very funny illustrations. And so, I think it would be good for a lot of different ages. It's just an all-around cute little book.
I love it.
I just picked it up at random because he requested a book about instruments. And so I was just checking our catalog.
You're like,
I was just like, I'm sure that we have something. So I was just checking the catalog for different books about instruments. So I was like, that looks cute. And boy, is it a favorite. He really, really likes it. So,
do you think he'll play? I mean, do you think this will continue? Do you think he'll play an instrument?
My family is very much a marching band family. Okay. My mother played the flute and the mellophone. I played the mellophone and the trumpet. My brother played the trombone, and my sister played the trombone. So
you will be playing an instrument.
It is more or less mandatory. I mean, obviously, honestly, like, I'm not going to force I will strongly suggest that he join the marching band.
I think it's going to happen.
He's the way it's going so far.
He'll march himself there.
He loves an instrument. Oh man, does he ever love just pretending to play? One of his favorite games is doing When the Ants Go Marching In.
Oh.
But we all have to march and also pretend to play an instrument.
Oh.
While we do the ants go marching in, and then have an instrument solo during the game. So. If we keep this up, we're in a good place.
Oh, you're having fun at your house.
Thank goodness there are no cameras.
That would be cute, though.
It's a lot. It's a lot of ants.
See you all dancing.
Yeah, it's a lot of ant marching.
I love it. I discovered this really adorable picture book by Marcy Colleen, and it's illustrated by Allison Oliver, and it's called The Bear's Garden. It's a beautiful picture book about a little girl that tried to take care of a garden in the urban city of. So basically, you realize this is in Brooklyn, and it's based beautifully illustrated, almost like it would almost make you think of like construction paper, sort of like lots of boxes and squares, but it's a beautiful story. And it's based on a true story of a garden that I think it's been around since it was 1985. Now, I don't know if it's still there, but it was called the Pacific Street Brooklyn Bears Community Garden, was founded in 85. And it was basically named after a teddy bear that got left in this field. And the garden just became like this bear became somehow... People would look at the bear and think the bear needed something, and this whole garden was formed and named after the bear. And so it's the true story of, sort of a loose true story of the bear garden, which it's just a beautiful book.
It really is. Yeah, the artwork in it is just stunning.
It's such a great story, and so anyway, so you should check it out.
It's a cute little summer book.
Yeah, The Bear's Garden. It's great. I love it.
All right, do we want to talk podcast real quick?
Yes, of course we do. We're podcast people.
I was going to say, I'm going to start because I feel like mine's darker.
Okay.
Let's end on a happier note than what mine is.
Okay.
So I've been listening to The Line.
Yes.
By Dan Taberski.
Who we love.
Yes, Dan Taberski is great. If you may have heard of Missing Richard Simmons, I feel like that's probably his most well-known one.
That's the very first one he did.
Yeah, it went pretty viral whenever it happened.
Yes, because he really was trying to find Richard Simmons.
He legitimately was just concerned about Richard Simmons. Yeah, it's a pretty fun one. I know that there was some controversy about it. Richard Simmons doesn't necessarily want to be found. So
it's obvious that he's just like
he's not into it, and that's fine. But yeah, it's a great podcast for what it is. It's a fun listen. Dan Taberski has a great narration style. He's a great writer, and so
he's funny.
He is really funny. Yeah, and he also has another podcast called Running from Cops, which is about the history of the television show Cops.
Which was really good.
Riveting.
I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
I think that's one of his real talents, is just like presenting information in such an easy way to.
When you're looking at statistics.
Yeah.
And he's talking about that. That's in the Cops. You're just like, whoa, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
You can't help but be riveted to the idea of like the numbers of things that wrongful convictions and like people, the show itself, the things that they did. Oh my.
I know.
It's like that show should have been pulled a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it did not, because it was huge ratings. It made a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. It was like one of the longest running TV shows ever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he's great. This newest one, or newer one that he did, I don't think it's brand new. I'm a little bit late to listening to it. It's called The Line, and it is about the Navy SEALs. So it's basically about this one Navy SEAL in particular who went on trial for a war crime. It was in question as to whether or not he had killed a member of ISIS who had already been captured.
Oh, okay.
So that was the trial that was.
Okay, because I recall a couple years ago some different cases, but I don't not this one, but it was. It was
pretty recent. It was within the past 5 years or so.
Okay.
The trial's already happened. it's already like concluded and everything. But this is Dan. He's interviewed like over 50 Navy SEALs for this podcast. Like he's talking to so many of them, and like I know what Navy SEALs are. I'm familiar with SEAL Team 6 and getting Bin Laden and all of like, I feel like that's probably where most American people are at with Navy SEALs. And just like, that's about my baseline of knowledge. It's like, I'm aware. I really didn't know anything about Navy SEALs until I started listening to this podcast. It is crazy listening to these guys talk. Really, really, really dark, very dark, but very interesting. I mean, I really just, and I mean, like I said, he's just interviewing Navy SEALs, and they all like, there are 10 SEAL teams, but there's no 9 for some reason.
That was the 9, some kind of voodoo number.
I don't know. All of them have motorcycles for some reason. Dan Taberski at one point, he was just like, there needs to be some kind of study done about motorcycle crashes in Navy SEAls, because every single Navy SEAL that I have talked to has a motorcycle and has crashed it at some point. It's like, he's just like, there are so many, like, they're all the same. And he was like, he was also talking to a gentleman who did recruiting for them. Like, he was basically the guy who was trying to, like, he does studies to figure out, like, similarities in Navy SEALs to find out, like, who they need to be talking to find new Navy SEAls.
Wow.
And, like, trying to find similarities. And it's like the vast majority of them come from homes that have divorced parents. The vast majority have very, like, low empathy. Like, and it's just like, it's riveting.
I guess it makes sense, though, because, I mean, your job is to, like, take out things.
Correct.
Like people.
Correct. Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, it's dark. It's a dark listen. I would not recommend it for the faint of heart. But it really is just like, I mean, Dan Taberski is a great interviewer. He's a really great podcaster. So he does a great job with the material. And he had lots of people who were willing to talk to him about it. So
Also, you might check out Surviving Y2K if anyone remembers going through Y2K. I think it's fascinating because I think of every podcast that I've listened by him. His ability to get people to talk to him is pretty amazing because he interviews a lot of people in the Y2K one as well. And sometimes that doesn't happen. You'll have a story and they're like, well, I tried to interview the police. They didn't want to talk to me or, whatever.
Right.
That doesn't happen really with Dan.
It seems like everybody's willing to talk to Dan Taberski. Yeah, because
plus he's just a funny guy too.
He is. Yeah, he's really able. I mean, like I had the reason it took me so long to listen to the line is like I have no interest in listening to this. I don't want to listen to Navy SEALs talk about war crimes. Like that does not sound like anything I'm interested in. And I finally was like looking for a new podcast to listen to, and I finally did it. I was just like, of course, it's just riveting because it's Dan Taberski. It's really, really engaging. So
I have 2 that I want to mention. One is just started, which is I think it's going to go dark. I don't know what to say.
I feel like that's just most podcasts at this point.
The podcast is called Alligator Candy, and it's by Dan Kushner, who is a you know who
I know that name. Yeah,
he's a writer. He's a journalist. He's written for Rolling Stone, New Yorker, Vanity Fair. He's a well-known and he's a very good writer, and it's about his brother who went missing. And I believe 1973, when he was 4 years old. Sorry, David was 4 years old. His brother was 11 when he went missing, and it was later found murdered. And so it's the process of the entire family dealing with what happened, him going missing, and just he's a journalist. He's investigated all these different things in his life, and the one case that he has always wanted to know and try to figure out what the heck happened is the case of his brother. It's a really good podcast. I'm on episode 3 of the podcast, and it's also based on his book called the same name, Alligator Candy. And it's basically a memoir, but the library does own a copy of the book. But the podcast, he's very good, and he's a very good journalist, and so the way that he tells the story is very good. And he interviews, his mother, his father, his brother, and people who were involved in the investigation, and just his feeling of like, what happened? Why did this happen to my brother? This little kid, this great kid. It's a great podcast to listen to.
Right.
My second podcast is called Exit Strategy. I'm a weird nerd on cryptocurrency, which I don't even exchange cryptocurrency. I don't own any cryptocurrency.
But you're an expert on it.
But I think I kind of know a lot about cryptocurrency because I listen to too many podcasts about cryptocurrency. I can't help myself. I find it fascinating. But this specific story is a mystery. So that's right up my alley, and it just happens to be about cryptocurrency. The story is about this guy who died in 2018 named Gerald Cotton, who basically ran the biggest Bitcoin exchange in Canada, who dies unexpectedly, and the mystery ensues of how to get into, because he did not give the passcodes or keychain codes have anywhere. Nobody knew them. He basically ran the entire cryptocurrency exchange on a MacBook Pro, and which seems crazy to me. And what? And so it's fascinating. And the guy that does the podcast, I cannot think of his name right now, and I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. But he like the other guy, David Kushner, is very good at being very storyteller in his way of explaining. And cryptocurrency is very hard to understand. And I think in this particular podcast, there's not a whole explanation of what cryptocurrency is. You kind of have to understand what cryptocurrency is to listen to the podcast, or just disbelief. It's like money is missing. Where did it go? That's all you basically need to know. It's money. It's real money. Where did it go?
Right.
And so this is an active case right now. I think they're still sort of investigating because he died in 2018. So definitely an interesting podcast. If you're interested in cryptocurrency, you might give it a shot.
Or just interested in mysteries.
This for sure is a mystery.
Yeah.
Because he was sort of he was a well-known person. He was worth a lot of money and was dealing with a lot of people's money. You can't be the biggest exchange of cryptocurrency in Canada and not people should be looking into that.
Right.
You know? So it's really fascinating. So I can't wait to see how this is going to end. I'm super stoked about what's going to happen. I mean, he might not even be dead.
Yeah. I feel like I have the amount of interest that you have in Bitcoin or just cryptocurrency in general is the opposite of me. I have absolutely no interest. But that sounds very interesting to me, regardless of the fact that it's about cryptocurrency.
There's some really great other podcasts about, and mostly you have to understand most Bitcoin, not all of them, podcasts are generally about somebody who scammed somebody from. I mean, it equals I think for a lot of people, myself included, that it feels like this is just a big scam.
I feel like it's just really rife for that because you can't see it. It's something intangible, so it's so easy for people to be to trick people, to scam people, because it's so intangible by its nature. So,
but you also think about this when you look at your bank account. If you look at your bank account online, you see the amount of money you have in your bank. That doesn't mean the bank has it.
Right.
That number is just the number they put that you've been, they've added, subtracted, put in there. So if you went to the bank and said, I want to see my money, they're probably not going to see your money.
Probably not, yeah.
So in a way, cryptocurrency is kind of similar in that.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why I look at cryptocurrency as being something that I think that I'm surprised that there's not more a push to look at cryptocurrency in a different light as something more tangible, and that we might be doing it in the future.
Yeah.
So I do think most people who exchange Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever cryptocurrency there is that's out there right now, basically it's an investment. I think people are looking at this eventually this is going to happen and I'm going to be a trillionaire because I got all the cryptocurrency and you're going to be starting off at the bottom. So that's kind of what people use it for almost. It's like an investment. Yeah, people still buy things. You can buy things with cryptocurrency. So, I mean, so yeah. I think it's fascinating. I could go on and on, but I will not. I will not. But yeah, so check out those podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, not necessarily our lightest podcast fare, but very interesting ones for sure. I feel like I've read so many light books lately that I had to get my weird dark stories from somewhere, I guess. So
yeah.
Turned to Dan Taberski, and he helped me out.
Yeah, definitely check out Dan Taberski.
Yeah, he's great.
Gosh, he is fantastic.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to The Line. Maybe try out the Y2K one or Missing Richard Simmons first if you want something a little lighter.
When I first listened to the Missing Richard Simmons, I really was taken aback about, because I literally thought, oh yeah, what happened to him?
Yeah.
Like I literally you stopped and thought, this was a person that was like always on television.
Yeah.
Always like, you heard about him. Even if you didn't know a whole lot, you're like, oh yeah, that crazy guy.
It's just like Dan Taberski's wheelhouse, I feel like, where he's like, hey, remember Cops? Hey, remember Richard Simmons? Let me just like tell you about this.
Hey,
and like,
remember Y2K?
You actually have no idea. There's this whole other thing that I'm going to tell you about now.
But you know that part. Let me tell you the real story.
Yeah.
Behind.
It's great.
So, and he's just an interesting guy.
He is. He's a great storyteller, which is like half the battle when you're doing podcasting.
Yeah,
that's why we love Phoebe Judge so much.
Oh,
so
gosh, I could talk about her too.
Phoebe Judge is delightful. Criminal's great. Have you listened to Phoebe Reads a Mystery?
Yes.
Delightful. If you like Criminal, Phoebe Judge, she has she also has a podcast called This Is Love, but she has started a new podcast during the pandemic called Phoebe Reads a Mystery.
Yeah, because she read the very first was the Agatha Christie.
She read an Agatha Christie novel, and she's just like branched out and started reading other stuff. I believe she read Sense and Sensibility.
Okay.
Yeah, she's read like 3 or 4 novels on it at this point. So if you just want to listen to Phoebe Judge read you a story, highly recommend Phoebe Reads a Mystery. It's delightful.
Her voice is really good.
She has one of the like top 5 best podcast voices out there, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm going to say this, but I also listen to Talking Sopranos. Because I love this. I love Sopranos. I've watched it like a quadrillion times. I don't even want to say, because I was totally in love with James Gandolfini.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
I did. I absolutely adore them.
Oh.
But they ended. It's great because it's 2 of the cast, Michael Porley and Steve Sharippa, do the podcast, and they went back and watched every episode. And they discuss it, and they talk about it, and they interview people who were on the show, people who wrote the show, people who grew up on the show. I mean, if they had anything to do with the show, they interview them. And they recently had Alec Baldwin on the show because he's a super fan.
Oh,
so
interesting.
They only the only 2 super fans, which one was Pete Davidson, and which I think is interesting because he had a Bada Bing like tattoo. But
okay, all right.
So which feels fitting to me.
Sure, that makes sense.
But Alec Baldwin has a podcast which I've not listened to and I don't know the name of, but I was listening to it and I'm like, goodness, Alec Baldwin has a really good voice for podcasts.
He does.
His voice is amazing.
One of my favorite jokes from 30 Rock is whenever Will Arnett guest starred on 30 Rock every so often too. And Liz Lemon, Tina Fey's character, at one point, she's like, what, are you two going to have a talking like this contest? Like, Will Arnett and Alec Baldwin both have such deep voices.
They do.
That's a great joke. I make that joke a lot for some reason. I don't know why that line has stuck with me all these years. It's very funny, yeah.
That and like, I'm having my night cheese.
Yeah. I also frequently say black light attack. Yeah. I really... So much of 30 Rock is just like, it just like lives right in my brain.
What is the line, something about a party, but a Liz Lemon party? Like,
it ain't, Liz Lemon party is mandatory.
Yeah, mandatory. I love that line.
Oh, man. I'm glad that we ended on a more lighthearted note.
Yes. So awesome.
Anyway, go watch 30 Rock.
Watch 30 Rock. Rewatch The Sopranos. Fall in love with James Gandolfini just like that.
All right, well, I think we're going to end it there. gonna end it on this note.
Shop, we're out.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. Hopefully we will be back sooner rather than later with some more of what we've been reading, listening, watching, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So
hope you guys have a good summer.
yeah, thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Bye.